This is a Geek Leader. Hey guys, this is John Rauda, and I am back with the Geek Leader podcast. I know I've been noticeably absent for several months, and I want to talk a little bit about why that is and let you guys know that I'm back. I want to start recording at a more frequent basis, I hope so anyway, and have some different kinds of conversations. I'll still talk a lot about leadership and tech, obviously, because that's what my life's pretty much been about, for a large portion of my career. And then I'll get into some other things, that I'm observing, some things that I think can help make us all better employees and better people, and just improve our lives in general. So where have I been? Well, last year I planned on taking about 3 weeks away from the podcast, take my family to a much needed vacation, and we went to Turks and Caicos, which was an awesome trip. It was an awesome vacation, with one exception. That exception happened on our third day when I got a call that no son wants to get, and that was the call that your parent has cancer. And I got a call that my dad had cancer. And at first the doctors were very optimistic, and they said it was treatable, and they were giving all this hope. So when I got back to the States, I spent a lot of my time visiting with him and spending as much time with him as I could. I put the podcast on hold. I put some of my speaking engagements on hold and a lot of the other side things that I was doing on hold. And I tried to travel to see my dad, at least once or twice a week, and basically called every day. Spent some good time with him. During that time, we were able to talk about things that we'd never talked about, like his time in Vietnam when he was in the war, and just other things like that. And it was just a really good experience for me to get to know my dad a little bit better. However, he did pass away, and that was a sad thing, but he was ready to go. He said that his work here was done. He was ready to move on, and he was ready to go to heaven and all that stuff. So it was really sad, but it was the right time. He was at peace, and we're all at peace with it. So that's good. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I learned something from this, and I want to share what I learned with all of you guys. And the thing that I learned in real life is kind of what I've been saying on this podcast quite a bit, and that's that family trumps work 100% of the time. You can always start back your job, just like I'm starting back this podcast. You can always find another job. You can always delay your work. You can always get back to where you started if you need to. But what you don't have and what you can't get back is time. Your kids are going to grow up. Your parents are going to pass away. That stuff's going to happen no matter if you're working or not. And I'm not saying don't work. I'm not saying don't do good work. You should always do good work. But there's a time and a place for everything, and sometimes you need to step back from work and spend that time with your family. And another thing that I learned was that there's things that you can do to help leave a good legacy. I think my dad left a pretty good legacy. He taught me a lot, and I think Billy Graham probably says it best when he says that the greatest legacy that one can pass on to one's children or grandchildren is not money or material things accumulated in one's life, but rather a legacy of character and faith. So one of the things that I want you to get out of this episode is that you have the opportunity to leave a legacy in someone's life. Maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you have no intention to ever have kids, and that's okay. You can still leave a legacy in someone else's life. And one of the things that I've been doing with this podcast, and I think during my very first episode 0, I mentioned that part of my why was to become a better speaker, to be a better leader, and all that good stuff. And one of the main reasons why I want to be a good speaker and a good leader is so that I can influence others to help them, so that when my kids get a job, hopefully in tech, I want to push them that way, but I may not get it. But whenever they get a job, that they have a good boss, they have good leaders that they can look up to, that they can learn from after I'm gone. So I want to build a legacy, not just have a good resume. And you can do that in your own job and your own work. You can leave a company with your legacy there. Where people will say, or things will happen because you were there. People will look up to the way that I can say, John left this in a great place. He left this the way it should be left. And that's always a good thing. So how do you do that? How do you build a legacy? There's lots of different people that have written about this, and I'll just share a couple of things. One is what Covey says. He says, begin with the end in mind. Imagine your funeral. Okay, imagine who's going to come to your funeral, and And what are you going to get out of that? Who's going to be glad that they met you? Who's going to be a better person because of the impact that you had in their life? And I always think back about the butterfly effect, the idea that a butterfly's wings could cause a typhoon or hurricane or something on the other side of the world. And when I think about that, I think that maybe something that I said to one person may make an impact in their lives further down the road. And I was speaking at a conference at Code Stock in Knoxville on technical leadership. And I wish I knew this guy's name, but he didn't give it to me. But after the conference, after the talk, and I just spoke about, picking yourself back up. I talked about the imposter syndrome and some of the things that I've talked about in this podcast. But I ended it with saying, look, if I can do this stuff, you can do this stuff. If I can recover from the things that I've gone through and the issues that I've faced with my limited intelligence and my limited charisma and being as awkward and weird as I am, the geek that I am, then you can too. And when I was talking to this, giving this talk to, I don't know how many people, maybe 100 people were there. At the end of it, this one guy came up to me and he was literally in tears about, some issues that were going on in his life. And, I gave him some advice. I gave him some books he should read. And I don't know if he took any of my advice at all, but the fact that my talk meant something to him and hopefully it changed his life for the better, that gives me encouragement and that helps leave a legacy. It may be a small legacy, but it's still a legacy. It's making an impact somewhere, somehow. So that's one thing you can start doing is just the small things. Do things with character and do things the right way, and you're going to have an impact whether you like it or not, and hopefully it's in a good way. The next thing is to pay attention to where my fate is going. By fate, I mean focus attention, or focus assets, time, and energy, and that's a acronym that I got from Todd Henry's The Accidental Creative, where he talks about how you have a finite amount of focus, assets, time, and energy. And I totally believe that because we all run out of focus, we all run out of assets, we all run out of time, and we all run out of energy. You can try to get some more of that with some Monster or some coffee like I do, but you're going to run out at some point. So I find myself asking more and more, where can I use this focus? Where can I use this time? Where can I use this energy? Where can I use my assets? And trying to make sure that my impact is where it should be. I think about how can I grow the people in my network? Not grow my network, not get more people, but how can I grow the people that are in my network? How can I leave an impact? So what does that look like to you? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? I want you to think about this. This is a more serious episode than what I usually do, and this is, I guess, my welcome back episode 29. But go to Twitter. I'm at John Rauda. Shoot me a tweet of what can you do to grow your legacy? What can you do to improve? And I want to give some thank yous to the people that have tweeted to me and asked me where I've been, the people that have sent me emails, and just other messages, checking on the podcast and why it's been noticeably absent and how things are going with me and making sure I'm okay. I really appreciate that. And hopefully we'll grow in subscribers and we'll move on as we, record new episodes and grow in the future. This is just a short episode, basically just welcoming myself back and letting you guys know that I haven't given up on A Geek Leader, and I will continue to record more episodes in the future. 4th of July is coming up. I hope you guys all have a wonderful 4th of July holiday and just really, really enjoy it. And remember, family trumps work 100% of the time.